I want to get into talking about input costs, because I know that we've had a number of conversations about input costs, and I talk with every single business that uses Pencil now. That's where the conversation is, and it doesn't matter what you're in. The input costs are killer, but I imagine with your type of business, it's even worse because of the logistical operation about getting stuff from overseas to here in a timely manner. I think that's an enormous addition. Then you've got all the deliveries and stuff. Can you talk about the cost of your raw green beans?
Yeah, for sure. So, back in the days when, we were moving into the new factory and I started doing 6 to 12 month contracts, we had to establish some credibility with our green bean suppliers. So we had to be great payers, have good relationships, keep business flowing consistently to a number of groups, not just all heavily with one particular group. What that allowed us to do is they allowed us to do 12-month contracts. So there was enough confidence for me to book up stock with these guys as if I'm booking direct from the origin, except I'm doing it through my green bean brokers, green bean suppliers. And their wealth of knowledge is fantastic. I ring them up and say, hey, I'm running low on this. What's happening in the next 3 to 4 months? Can we book this in? Mm-hmm. Just to try to keep the cost down. But since probably July, August last year through to now, contracts are shorter because the volatility's there. Australian dollars dropped significantly. Transport costs, getting a container brought across from Peru or Brazil was $800, $900. It was upwards of 12,000. Yep. Containers sitting on the water, not in the ports when they should be in the port. So a 6 to 8 week stock turnaround from country of origin to in this factory was turning into 14 to 16 weeks.
I was overseas 2 weeks ago, and I came back through Singapore. And as you're flying over Singapore, there's no shit 500
containers 500
freight ships just waiting.
And they're circling almost like a plane coming to land. And the cost of running that,
there's 500 of them all in this port, 500, and they are it's an amazing sight to see.
Not just the container costs, but all the transportation costs sitting on the water,
fuel costs, staff, so
labor, refrigeration,
labor to run a freight ship. It's pretty,
So until it opens up freely, and until there's some stability there and continuity, it's still going to be volatile for a while. The other side of it also is, of course, Brazil last year had to have a frost in September, October, right in the middle of all this crap. So, Brazil sneezes, the world catches a cold because they're the biggest supplier of coffee. So if they go into negative compared to their previous years, supply and demand, people have to get their coffee from other regions to substitute it at some stage. So the flow-on is enormous to other countries of origin. Other countries are limited with their stock that they pull out of the grounds. So there's pressure on those prices, so those prices go up. Mm-hmm. So Brazil, at the same time as COVID and all the transportation issues, it couldn't have been a worse combination in the history of me being in this game.
Yeah, the
out of control.
The concept of supply and demand alone as an economic principle is a killer. But add to that the fact that you've got every single government in the world that decides that, we're going to make energy really hard to come by now, and we're going to stop production of energy. Yeah. Okay, cool, no worries. But everything's going to cost double, and energy is the input into fucking everything we do. The cost of oil, gas, whatever it is just is going to elevate that. And I just think the fact that the governments couldn't start to say, okay, go and produce a bunch of energy now, because what that's going to do is drop that input. We've still got the supply issue, and it's a supply driven problem right now. Yep. Right. It was, back a while ago, it was a little bit about demand from a consumer perspective, but now the commercial element is just a supply problem. People just can't get stuff to sell. They just can't get it on shore.
We had Peruvian coffee that was supposed to be here in September last year, and I booked it in June, thinking I'd afford, covering my bases. I got it at a good price. It didn't come to end of January, beginning of February. So to keep my blends, to not compromise my blends and to keep them consistent, I bought Peruvian coffee at spot pricing, spot pricing is what it is at the moment, like what it is, uncontracted, sitting on the floor, and they sell that based on the C market, right, which is coffee's traded on the C market, US dollars per pound. So that's volatile as well. It's like gold.
So you have to be able to predict the future, like really, like months and months in advance.
Months and months. And
yeah,
then,
and that's got cash flow implications because you got to pay for it.
Yep.
But like then you got to pay, no doubt, some of it at the time when you're ordering it.
Well, using brokers takes that element out of it, that side of it. But they've got to have containers on the water, replacing the ones coming in, replacing. All of a sudden, you take 8 to 12 weeks out of the equation that no one in the world can change. For about 3 to 4 months, we had to pay spot pricing, which was 1.5 to 2 times what my contracted stock was.
It's very hard to go back to your cafes and say, "Hey guys, it's 1.5 to 2 times."
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just for this 3 months, we need to add another $10 or $5 a kilo to your coffee price. It's not going to work.
And then after that, it'll come back. But then, I mean, it's impossible. No, you have to wear it. You have to wear some of it, right?
You do. So we're probably wearing 60 to 70% of it. We're just going through a transition phase at the moment with our clients, where for the first time in 10 to 12 years, we are raising our prices slightly, but because the market's so competitive, we've got to be careful of how much we raise our prices. So we're copping a lot of it.